Well, you could. I was there in spirit.
I saw him. I saw a ghost of him sitting there.
I just had trouble getting on because I have so many passwords built into my computer.
Yeah, tell me
And so
about
many
it.
WebEx meetings that you have to fiddle around with the password to make sure it doesn't put in one of the automatic ones. All right, I'm going mute here.
Oh,
Thanks, Rick.
okay. Okay.
We're good.
What is that howling sound?
Coming from right now.
It stopped, whatever it was.
All right. Okay. Here we go. Good evening, everyone. And
It's Tom.
good evening, everyone. And welcome to a regular scheduled meeting of the Montclair Historic Preservation Commission. Notice has been given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by posting a copy of the notice on the first floor of the municipal building and by sending a copy to the Montclair Times, the Star Ledger, and the Herald News. It is Thursday, August 27th, 2020. And because we are in the time of COVID, this is a remote meeting and we are using Cisco WebTex events. This meeting is open to the public and it will be televised on TV 34 and the Montclair Government YouTube channel. The public can participate in the meeting via computer or phone. And if you look, Graham has posted our agenda, meeting agenda on the screen. If anybody from the public would like to join us, you see the numbers that are on the screen right now. And you can also participate by phone. The phone number is right there and the meeting code is there as well. Thank you, Graham. Okay, so Graham, could you please perform the roll call?
Sure. Chair Bennett.
Here.
Vice Chair Hyman. Jason.
You get to speak louder.
Go ahead, Jason.
Right.
Here.
Okay. Mr. Bruni is absent at this time. Ms. Kane-Levy.
Here.
Mr. Reimnitz.
Here.
And Mr. Greenbaum is excused this evening. And Mr. Karasik is here. And Mr. Connolly.
I have to unmute, so I'll say here. Okay.
Here.
Mr. Connolly. Very good.
Okay. Next is the approval of minutes. We have the minutes from July 23rd.
We should note that
2020.
Steve Rooney has just joined us.
Oh, hi, Steve. Yes, Steve was just to come in. Hi. So we have the approval of minutes next. It's the approval of minutes from the June 23rd, what do I say? July 23rd meeting. Thank you, Graham.
July 23rd.
Yes, has everyone had a chance to review? Does anyone have any comments or changes?
Yeah,
I have no comments.
I had one, line 28, northern facade are to be 1/1. It's just a little typo. And just note that that's also in the resolution.
Okay. Sounds right.
Okay, and then I also noted that Mr. Karasik was not present, so right there, he has to disappear from that. All right, our next agenda item is public.
Motion to,
Oh, motion to approve, right. Would someone like to make a motion to approve?
I move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
With the aforementioned changes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, so minutes from July 23rd have been approved, and there were just a couple of changes, Graham, on that. Public comment. Is there anybody that is clicked in, Graham? We can't hear you now, Graham.
Oh, you can't hear me again?
Now we can.
Oh, sorry. I think if I go far away, you can't hear me. Just see, no, I don't see any public.
Were there any instructions on how to participate using the raise hand button?
I would
want it-
not have that, but
Yeah.
I do have one call-in user that I'm going to unmute and see if they have any public comment. We have somebody joining by phone. Do you have any public comment that you'd like to offer?
Calling user 973 888. Any comment? And just so the public is aware, if you go to the participants button, open that screen, view all attendees, and then there's a raise hand icon. It should be somewhere on your screen. That's how you notify Graham if you have a question or a comment.
Yeah, you can also use the chat function as well to send me a message if you have a question as well. Okay.
Are we waiting for somebody?
No, we were just seeing if there was any public comment on the agenda.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Okay.
No worries.
Okay, then the next order of business is committee reports. The design review and redevelopment. Steve, do you have anything to report on that?
What's the one I was looking for? The Development Review Committee meeting. We had a meeting August 6th, and we Rosedale Cemetery was a minor site plan where they wanted to install a new fence, which we approved. Then there's 65 Church Street Urban Renewal. That's the Haynes parking lot.
Right.
And it's come back. It's similar to what we have seen before. We'll see it pretty soon. And then also had an application from Kevin Costello and Nicole Subject on Forest Street, 159 Forest Street. He owns a couple of buildings there, and he wants to add 2 more buildings. I think it might be a little bit too dense, but we'll figure that one out.
Okay.
Kevin Costello, you have met before. He's Stephen Walker's assistant.
Yes. Yes, we worked with him on the George, the last one.
Right. You did.
Okay, is that it? Thank you.
That's it.
Okay, minor applications. We did have one meeting, didn't we?
Yes, we did have one meeting of the minor applications.
Right, and that was all straight.
A total of 3 very minor applications. Minor signage applications.
Right, all signage. Revisions committee, we haven't had one since our last meeting.
Have not. I do anticipate scheduling one soon, though, for the Hampton House application. I've heard from the contractor and developer there. They actually advised me that they are restoring the windows on the upper floor, not replacing those windows. So they're going to be
that's great.
restoring the metal and fixing them to keep the original windows. And then we're going to be looking at the storefront and some other material replacement for other parts of the project. So.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. Thank you. The education and outreach, we have 8 solid nominations for the historic preservation review. 1 is a preservationist, 2 is preservation service, and 5 is bricks and mortar. So what will happen now is Graham will notify, we'll have a final meeting with Steve Rooney, myself, and Graham, and then Graham will notify the winners, and we will present the awards at our next meeting, which I believe is September 24th.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so we'll just have to get used to this type of format. Graham, do you see them coming on? And how are we going to do this in terms of, we could discuss it?
foresee us, well, we've talked about a couple things. One is we're going to begin the meeting at 7 p.m. just to allow for additional time for the award presentation. Each of the awardees will log in as an attendee, and I have the ability to elevate them to panelists, so they'll join us on the screens here for their award presentation.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Graham, can you give us a grant update for our current grant and also the future grant that we've
Sure,
applied
I can
for?
update on both components. So first, the current CLG grant project that we're working through is the intensive level architectural survey of the estate section. We have been working closely with our consultant, E2 Project Management. Unfortunately, obviously due to COVID, there's been limitations on their ability to do some primary level research, particularly access to library, maps, other places, Essex County Hall of Records that they're looking to get to. They are going to be working with the History Center next week, though. I did set that up for them. But given kind of the limitations, we were approached by the State Historic Preservation Office and advised that we should request an extension if we need one. So we will be requesting an extension from SHPO, probably 6 to 7 months into early next year. This will allow us additional time for the consultant to complete the grant project and complete the scope of work. We're also going to leverage this opportunity to update the time period in our contract to increase the amount closer to the full grant award amount, so that we can also, have a comprehensive good survey that's done for the estate section to update the survey that we already had done, back in 1981. It's almost a 40-year-old survey at this point, so we're looking to update that, and then we can move forward with the comprehensive project to get delivered. Second phase of that, the township, I can happily announce we were awarded the 2020 CLG grant opportunity as well. This, I think, is our third consecutive year that we've won these grants, which is a great stretch. Just to remind you all, is to complete an update to the residential design guidelines in our historic design guidelines to supplement them, make them a little bit more comprehensive, and provide some more direction to residential property owners specifically. And a second component of this grant application is to prepare a small pamphlet or booklet that we're going to place at local hardware stores or other home improvement locations, so that folks have it as a quick reference for how to treat historic properties, and they'll have that opportunity to get some literature and understand how to make sensitive changes to their properties. So that we just had our grant kickoff meeting on Tuesday of this week. I'm working on drafting the request for proposals now, and we should be issuing that and getting that out to the street, in September, with a 30-day timeline that has to be posted to the public.
Thank you, Graham. That's all our committee reports. Moving on to old business. We have which has come back to us. We saw this last month. It's the Planning Board application 2675, 423 Bloomfield Avenue, 423 Bloomfield Avenue Properties. It is a site plan approval for addition to the existing building. We are reviewing it according to Montclair Code 347-142. It is in the Town Center Historic District. Graham had sent us the architect, Paul Sionis, had sent us his updated PowerPoint presentation. And I guess Paul is with us, Graham?
So just to advise, it's Brian Robertson from Paul's office will be giving the presentation this evening. And also Scott Kennedy, the applicant, is here as well. I'm going to elevate them both now to be panelists to help us through this discussion. So I'm going to bring Ryan up and Scott Kennedy, the applicant, up as well. Okay. So Ryan and Scott, you're now joining us. Let me unmute you. Ryan, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Great.
Excuse me, Graham, could I excuse myself from this presentation?
It's going to be recused. So yeah, Tom, actually, if you want, I can move you down, I think, or you can just mute yourself.
Okay.
And then I'm also going to bring Barton Ross in is here as well. So so Barton should now be in as well. Barton, can you hear us?
I can hear you, Graham.
Great, thank you. And then Scott Kennedy, the applicant, is also here. Scott, can you hear us?
Yeah, thank you very much, Grant.
Okay, great.
Okay, So, Mr. Robinson, you'll be presenting the PowerPoint presentation. I believe that Mr. Barton Ross was already sworn in. Ira, could you swear in Mr. Robertson?
Mr. Robertson, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're going to give this commission is the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, and just state your name and your relationship to the applicant.
Sure. My name is Ryan Robertson. I work for Paul Sionis. I'm a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey, and presenting on behalf of Scott Kennedy, the applicant.
Thank you. You know, there's thunderstorms just about beginning now.
Yeah, I hope I don't get choppy.
Okay. Mr. Robertson, Paul had walked us through the presentation last month. So if you could pick up, I think, I don't know how many slides are on this, but if you could start now, that would be great. We did go through the entire, he walked us through the interior. So maybe you could tell us what has changed. We asked for the applicant, for this application to return to us for the reasons that were listed. So if you could tell us what you've done to change it, that would be great. Okay, why don't you begin?
Yep, we've reduced the PowerPoint presentation. I'll go over, there are some plan view slides here. I'll just go over those as quickly as I can and get to the elevations. And I did review the video from last month's hearing, so I heard the comments and can address that. But here we have, Graham, the first two slides we can go through quickly here. These are just the existing photograph of the front facade on Bloomfield, and the next one is the rear facade on Glen Ridge. If we go to here, yep, number 3 here, the only change here is where it says proposed overhanging balcony at the first floor. It used to be a curvilinear balcony, and with some of the design changes, we went with a more rectilinear contemporary look, so that shape has changed, and that's really the only change on this slide. Next one, Graham. First floor plan, we added that last line of text at the bottom. You could see that the changes here include a box bay at the stairway, so you can see that's to bring some light in there, and the rectilinear terrace, which I already mentioned. Go to the next slide. Second floor plan, the changes here really is just that line work showing the terrace below and the line work of the box bay below. The only other change is in the kitchen dining room area in that proposed apartment. There used to be a broom closet that was projecting towards Ridgefield Avenue that really created some kind of unnecessary complexity to the elevation, and in the interest of simplifying and having less visual clutter with the elevation, we removed that. And then another minor change is the window in the bathroom that's looking into that interior roof terrace. That has shifted a little bit, so we could get we could modify that elevation a bit. And that's it for this slide. Here, no changes to the plan here. I'll just mention that the master bedroom has that window seat with a bench. That was originally part of sort of a dormer that was in that faux, yeah, exactly, Graham. That was in part of the kind of the faux mansard roof. The mansard roof is gone now, but in plan view, the shape of this stays the same, and it becomes a projecting box bay, which we'll see later again. The box bays will be, well, maybe I'll talk about that when we get to the elevation, the materials. Next slide, please. Here's the roof plan. Not much has changed here either, except Graham, if you could kind of point out the jogging parapet that faces Glen Ridge. That used to be set further back because it was a mansard roof, but now it's straight up. So we have more usable area on the roof terrace. The pergola area that's shaded in a darker shade there, that stays roughly the same size. We've just changed the form of that to be a hip roof, and we lowered the height of all of that and the storage room so that it's not viewable at all from Glen Ridge Avenue. And it's not viewed when you're standing directly across the building on Bloomfield. Now it's completely out of view you're standing a little to the south on Bloomfield, you'll catch a glimpse of it. But we've done a sightline diagram, which we'll get to later, and I'll show you that. We can go to the next slide. This is not much to talk about here, really. We just updated the section. So really the change is where the mansard would have been angled back, and now it's shown as a straight up to a parapet with a box. And the next slide is the same thing, just a different section cut. But that's pretty minor, not much to say there. If you could go to the next slide, please, Graham. And so here we have the elevation changes. The south elevation, Bloomfield Avenue streetscape. You can see we've got the brick facade still. We've got a simple soldier course, and we have a more simplified cast stone cornice. The next slide will show that full courtyard elevation view, so we'll have more context there. But we can also mention here that the roof deck elements of that, it's a potting shed and a pergola. As I said, that won't be viewable from Bloomfield, so we'll look at that again later. The Glen Ridge elevation, here you can see mostly where changes were made to implement the commission's recommendations. The biggest comment seemed to be on the third floor. So the first step was to get rid of the mansard roof. The constructive criticisms I heard in the last month's hearing was that it was a pastiche of visual styles. There were too many varied references to historical style, and it lacked cohesion. It was suggested that we needed to simplify and scale things back and articulate itself more cohesively, and we should refer to the historic guidelines direction that the building is compatible with adjacent buildings while also being, quote, of its own time. So all the changes you see here were made with those comments and recommendations in mind. So as I said, the faux mansard roof has been eliminated. Up top, if you could circle where the third floor projecting box bay, that used to be a dormer, stayed the same in plan view, but now it's going to be a smooth composite board, fiber cement board that would contrast with the brick facade. Let's see, it has a soldier course in 3 spots there that's being interrupted by these projecting bays. And then we originally had a very a more ornate cornice on that first floor. We've simplified that, matched the cornice on the top, and we eliminated the archtop windows too. So removing the archtop windows, removed some of the curvilinear forms. There was some curved elliptical cast stone banding that we got rid of, and we just have everything much more rectilinear, more contemporary. We have black contemporary railings now, and this colored elevation is showing black for the doors and windows. When I show you the renderings that we had an outside company do, they were showing it in gray. So just point that out. I think we prefer the black, but that'll look a little different when you see the renderings. The basement wall finish has changed. That was a rusticated block, and now we're proposing a cast stone and a limestone color. And the signage on that basement level has also changed to now just be a business directory sign on a bronze panel, 2 feet by 3 feet. Okay, I think that we can go to the next slide. This is that interior courtyard view. You can see this matches the visual style of the Glen Ridge Avenue elevation, matches the materiality as well. There's a brick soldier course that's interrupted by the projecting bays. And you can see the 2 windows are just, now they're centered. They were slightly off center. So that's why I mentioned that they were, yeah, right, those ones right there. Next slide, please. This has been updated as well, but the 1, 2, 3 in red stays the same as what was presented before. We still have a pergola above. The shape of it has changed and has dropped. We still have the tempered glass guardrail, and number 3 is still illustrating that it steps back on the Glen Ridge facade. It looks busier there than it really is, and you'll see in the next slide. So here's the rendering. Let's see, what page are we on here? 13. Lost my place here. This is a rendering of the north facade. As I said there, the renderer has shown the windows and doors in gray, and I think it would look better in black to match the railings. The same would be true of that 3rd floor balcony. It's kind of shown in a gray, maybe cast stone, and that should be black as well. This would This was taken from a photograph that's across the street on Glen Ridge. So you can see, you can't see any of the rooftop elements. But we'll see the diagram again later. If you could go to the next slide, please. And this is just showing now that there is nothing to see in the rendering above when you're across from Bloomfield. Next slide, please. And here's the Glen Ridge Avenue in rendering in full context with the Midtown parking deck. So you can see the full context. Next slide, please. Here's a sightline diagram we did showing when you're standing across on Bloomfield Ave, the maximum eye rotation that's comfortable is 25 degrees. That's what that top dashed line is. And then you can see it's 18 degrees to catch the top of our parapet right there. And if you extend that line, you see that it misses our pergola. Next slide will show the same on Glen Ridge Ave. There's two lines there because we have a stepped back, parapet. So in either case, you don't see anything up there. And if you go to the next slide, this is the last slide. This is just showing the basement plan. Nothing really changed there except the dashed line showing the balcony above, which was curvilinear, is now rectilinear. Light fixture type C has been modified slightly. We moved it there to be above the wall plaque. On the plan viewgram, you can see where that C is, yeah, right there. And so light fixture A and B, you were kind of down there showing the pictures. Those are about the same. Light fixture A is just a little taller, and that's happening down in the basement level. B was everywhere else with there was a quantity of 7. Light fixture D was LED strip that would go under the cast stone cornices. And the signage master plan there shows these are everything that would go on that 2 by 3 foot plaque. There would be the building address. There would be a sign that says Studio 042 Super Business Printer, and then another one for a tenant that is to be determined. So I think maybe you want to go back to one of the slides that shows the renderings, because I'm sure that's where we'll be discussing things the most. But I think we tried our best to get rid of all the kind of faux historicism, to have something that's more of our time, and to have a more cohesive design composition. And I think that's it for the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson.
Thank you.
Before the commissioners ask questions, Barton, could you care to comment on their revisions? You did not write an updated report to what you sent on July 1st, correct?
Correct. I did not send a formal letter.
Okay. Well, would you comment on what they've done in relationship to what you wrote on July 1st?
Sure. So I've been in touch with Mr. Sionis and Mr. Robertson to discuss the project, and obviously they're doing the correct thing with the massing of this building, moving it away from Bloomfield Avenue and facing Glen Ridge, and trying to do something interesting, for the streetscape of Glen Ridge. So I applaud them for doing that. You won't even really see this at all. I think that's been proven from Bloomfield Avenue, which is the important thoroughfare. And I think they went back and listened to the commissioner's comments and tried to get rid of the false sense of history detailing, and tried to make this more contemporary. So they did away with the classical brackets and other details. No more arched windows or mansard roof. They have a lot of brick, which is great. And then the cement panel outlines around the windows, and all the windows now are rectilinear, kind of matching what's in the area. I think all that's a move in the right direction. So I applaud them for listening to the commission's comments on that. So it's a shame Mr. Greenbaum isn't here, because I think this is a great opportunity to do what they did in Italian palazzos back in the Renaissance era, which is kind of a piano nobile level, which is usually not the ground floor level. It's the basically second or even third floor level. So my only comment is I as you're looking at this elevation, I think it'd be really neat to kind of accentuate the second floor a little bit more, because my eye still goes to the top of the building. And I think we don't want to accentuate the height so much, but it's more what you see when you're walking down the street as a pedestrian or riding around in your car. So I'd like to see the second floor, if there is any kind of detail, that it go on that level. But this is much closer, so I think it's moving in the right direction. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So why don't we start with questioning the witness, Mr. Robertson. Caroline, would you begin? Do you have any questions?
No, I don't have questions.
Okay. John Reinitz? Is he still here?
John, we can't hear you.
John, we can't hear you. He can't hear me?
No, we can hear you.
Can't hear
John,
me?
you don't show us muted,
You
but
now,
you don't hear anything.
John, we can hear you. You're good.
You can hear me now?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, there he is.
Okay, just, Mike, first of all, well, no, these are just questions. So you're saying that the frames of the windows, you don't like the color that you see there now? You're thinking you want to go make it black? Is that what I heard?
Yes.
Okay. And I see the bottom cast stone, which, these renderings are a little difficult. I know it looks a little yellow
Mm.
in this image, and then there's a gray band and then the brick. What is the gray band that I'm reading?
That's a cast stone
Of just
band.
just a different color.
Right.
Okay. Okay, I got it. I don't have any other questions.
Thank you.
Mr. Hyman?
No question.
And Mr. Rooney?
Go ahead.
I have no questions.
Okay. And I have a question. John pointed out before, just the last question, the band, the capstone band, do you intend that to be black as well? Or if that's stone, what color, do you intend to be a contrast to the limestone or the same color?
It would be a contrast. The cast stone there would be that color that you're seeing, a gray, and that matches the cornice, the cast stone cornice above on the second floor and above on the very top. Yeah, so all those would be gray. Yeah.
But the doors, the double doors that are on the ground floor and the window surrounds and the doors that are on the balcony will all be black.
Right.
Okay.
It would have been a little too muddy in this elevation to have them change it because they show the glass is black, so you wouldn't have seen any of the detail.
Okay, right.
So that's why we decided to change it in the other elevation, just so you could see. So if you change there, that's kind of more what it'll look like.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So why don't we start now with Caroline for discussion? Do you have any discussion points?
I think it came a long way, and I think you listened well and have been very responsive. I think it's much more of a cohesive design than it was before, and it's got some interesting features and amenities with its bay windows and terraces and greenery and pergolas, and so I think it will be an attractive addition to this streetscape, and it relates well to the other buildings nearby.
Thank you. Mr. Reinitz?
I think this is a big difference from what we saw before and a lot better. I applaud the architect and perhaps the owner as well for pushing it forward. I think it's great. I don't have any issues with it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hyman?
Yeah, I don't have anything else to add. other than echo the comments that were already made. But, and you guys listened to the comments from the last meeting, and we came back with a much improved design, and fully support it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rooney?
It's really progressed a lot. It's a lot more handsome than it was before. And I think it'll be really a nice kind of focal point to Glen Ridge Avenue right through there. It'll be nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I feel the same way. I think it's come a long way. And I think I'd just like to make a remark of the piano nobile. I think the second floor here in this rendering really does stand out, especially on the other rendering where you could see the depth. I mean, the height is greater than the bottom floor. I think when you mentioned that, I immediately saw that. So I guess it's just a difference of opinion, and we'll see how it turns out, what it looks like in 3D. So, all right, so this is a site plan approval. So we don't have any conditions. The site plan approval would be the changes that Mr. Robertson mentioned. What's that?
It's a referral to the planning board, so we'll do commentary to the planning board.
Yeah, that's what I meant, comment. Yeah. So I mean that we approve of what has been presented to us, and just to be noted, the changes in the color for the windows and the door surrounds, and what the material will be on that capstone. Will this have to come back to the minor applications for lighting, or are we all set with that? Should we review the lighting in person?
So to be clear, the applicant is proposing the signage and lighting as part of the application here, so they wouldn't have to, that'll be approved by the planning board, so as part of this whole application. So, the commission should provide any comments they have on any features now. If you'd like to request that the applicant present samples of materials for you to review as a follow-up item, you can ask that the planning board impose that condition that you all have the ability to review material selections in the field.
Okay.
We typically do.
Okay. So John, do you think this should come back to the?
I don't think so. I mean, I guess I would have a question just about what we're looking at and what we've been provided. We've looked at this presentation, but I also know in my packet, I have folded drawings from Policianos, which is a whole set of plans.
Mm-hmm.
Are we approving the set of plans, or are we just approving what we've been presented to us?
So it's important to make sure we clarify the jargon here. So the commission is not rendering any approval. We're making a recommendation regarding the plans that were presented in the presentation that was presented this evening to the planning board, who will render the approval. So the commentary that we formulate this evening needs to be to the planning board. So if the commission is supportive of the imagery and visuals that were presented here in the presentation, they should say that. You all should say, we're in favor of the application as presented in the PowerPoint presentation, with the finishes, materials, and coloring, and all those things.
Well, have we reviewed? I don't think we've seen a brick sample, or I kind of would like to see a brick sample, if possible, in the committee, and whatever material samples are accompanying that.
The standard condition that we've requested of the approving boards, and they typically honor those. So yeah, we can certainly impose that condition, or request that condition be imposed as part of the approval.
Yes, I think that would be fair. Okay, so does anyone else have any other comments about our next step forward for this? No? Okay, Graham. So we will say to the planning board that we're supportive of the revised plans to this project. And then as a condition, we'd like to see the brick samples, and anything else, or just the brick samples? The signage seems fine. Everybody is agreement. on that, and the lighting, everyone is agreement, correct? Okay.
Brick,
Sorry, can't hear you.
maybe brick and all mason samples.
We can't hear you, Caroline. It's cutting out.
Oh,
All masonry
all
samples.
the masonry samples that they put together.
Okay, which would include the composite board. I know that's not masonry. Is that?
Yes.
The
Okay.
composite board,
Yes.
the cast stone, the brick, and the mortar.
Great. Okay, then that'll be the condition.
Very good.
Okay, great. So thank you very much, Mr. Robertson. Looks like a great project.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you all.
Same here.
Kennedy too.
Good luck.
Thank you. Bye.
Better get going
Nice.
if we're going to be starting on that deck soon.
Graham, when will this come before the planning board?
I don't know that date offhand, but I can let you know.
Okay, just let us know when that, after we see the samples. Okay, great. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
We're moving on to new business. And at this point, I'd just like to mention that application 2020-15, 109 Union Street, the proposed demolition of the dwelling has been put off until next week, so that will be heard on September 3rd. Our next application is HPC application 2020-20, 544 Bloomfield Avenue, that is known, will be known or is known as Investors Bank. It is a storefront facade improvements. It is in the Town Center Historic District, and it is coming before us for a C of A, a certificate of appropriateness. We have certificate of appropriateness is dated July 16th, 2020. This 554 Bloomfield Avenue is a one-story 20th century commercial building that was built circa 1920 and is labeled as a contributing building in the 2002 Town Center Historic District nomination report. Graham, can you put up a picture of, there you go. Okay, thank you. So the applicant proposes a series of improvements to the northern facade, which is the facade that fronts on Bloomfield Avenue. It's a storefront. They're proposing to install a new storefront system to resurface the bulkhead at the storefront with new slab granite. They propose to clean and repair the upper facade portion of the storefront. They will install 3 building-mounted lights above the proposed wall-mounted business sign. And then we have signage. So as I mentioned before, this is a certificate of appropriateness that they're coming before us for. Is the applicant?
Yes. Karen Longo, I'm here. I don't see that the video's live, but hopefully you can hear me.
We can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. How are you? The rain that you got is about to hit me, so hopefully our power stays on.
Karen, was a representative from the bank on? I have somebody on a phone that's called in.
Yes, that's probably someone from the bank. They're not, I'll be doing the testimony. I think they're just listening in.
Okay. I just didn't know if we wanted to, if they wanted to be part of the conversation.
So whoever said they were doing the testimony, I'd like to swear you in.
Yes.
So could you, whoever you are, raise your right hand, please? You
Yes.
solemnly swear that the testimony you're going to give this commission is the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
And could you please identify yourself and also identify your relationship to the applicant?
My name is Karen Luongo. I'm a registered architect in New Jersey, New York, Rhode Island, Connecticut, and Pennsylvania, as well as an NCARD member. I am the architect of record for Investors Bank.
Thank you so much.
would you like me to explain the project? Is that the,
Yes.
okay.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Graham, I think if you could just move the screen over to the photo on the right-hand side that shows the existing condition. The building, as was stated, it's a one-story building. It was previously occupied by 2 tenants, which is the reason why there are 2 existing entranceways into that space. The building was essentially bisected in half originally. We are proposing to remove the center entrance and utilize the entrance that's on the western side of the building. We're essentially keeping the facade largely intact. We're proposing to keep it largely intact. There is an awning above the storefront glass that will be removed, and then the surface behind it repaired and restored to match. We are proposing to put all new storefront glazing in place of what is there now. We would bring that center section of doorway out to align with the windows on either side. The bulkhead that's there now is just slate tiles, and many of which are delaminating from the back surface. And we're proposing to take those off and replace them with a honed black granite, which is fairly traditional. The surface of the wall appears to be a gray sand finished stucco. It looks like it has been painted at some point to refresh. There's evidence on that wall of old signage shadows that have come off. And that surface is also bisected horizontally by these 1-inch anodized aluminum, brushed aluminum feature strips, and those would remain as well. I think, Graham, if you want to move over to the left drawing that we had there, please. That you can see the lines of the aluminum that are there. The existing lighting would be removed. As we refurbish the surface of that wall, we would be taking the coping off, which is in disrepair, and replacing it. And that is pretty much the scope of the construction work that we're proposing. In addition to that, and then Graham, if you want to move down to the bottom panels, that would show the drawing elevation. On the proposed drawn elevation, I just want to note there's a dotted in element on the 2 left-hand window panels. That actually is representing a wall that's about 8 or 9 feet behind the storefront where the ATM would be located. And we just wanted to illustrate that that element was there as well. We're proposing signage on the building that conforms with the zoning. It is a weave that's in 2 different colors of green vinyl. All the signage is not illuminated letters. Everything is pin mounted to the building individually. We are also proposing a banner sign that would be 48 inches tall, which is located on the upper left-hand side of the elevation. And then the lighting is 24-inch projection, very small little LED floodlights. And there's on another page of the exhibit, we have the, the lighting in specifics and showing how the light will illuminate that sign. Graham, if you want to, I just want to make one note. We updated, Mr. Connolly had noticed that our original drawing illustrated the bulkhead continuing into a side light next to those center doors, and that was incorrect. So we did send an update sheet, and that was the correction that was made on that. No other changes were made. Graham, if you could move to drawing A2. A2 shows our proposed floor plan. in the upper left-hand corner. We do want to note that in doing some research on the building, we discovered an older site plan for back in the 30s, actually. And what we saw was a building footprint that is very different than what this building footprint is today. And based on that finding and our existing conditions report that we did, we believe the whole front, about 22 feet of frontage on that building was an addition that was added at some point, likely in the 40s or 50s. The construction changes. It's a slab floor. The foundation wall doesn't continue below it. The foundation wall pretty much aligns with the first column that you see on our floor plan. So we think pretty much everything that you see there is not original to the building on that facade.
This is the ATM location that you had mentioned, so you can see it's set back from the storefront window.
Yes, yes. And we consulted with Graham and the zoning officer about that, and we were advised to count it as a window sign, which we did. It conforms with the allowable area. Typically, these ATM bezels are illuminated, but we're not allowed to have an illuminated window sign in this location. So this will be installed without any back illumination on the bezel itself. It'll just be the graphic. And the graphic shows.
For the commission, it's any signage within 12 feet of a window is considered window signage.
Correct. And at the bottom, the lower right-hand side of this drawing, Graham, you'll see what the bezel will consist of. On the upper right of this drawing, we did include images of the particular materials. The bulkhead, we're proposing a Virginia mist honed finish to replace the slates that are falling off. And the stucco we will be matching the existing color and the existing finish with any of the repairs that we do in restorations. If you move down to the bottom right quadrant, that shows the ATM bezel. And again, it'll be non-illuminated. And if you shift to the left there, it'll show the configuration of the storefront. And to be consistent with what's there now, we kept large panels. They will be an anodized aluminum finish. We kept the doors at the right-hand entry, which is where they are now. We also have reason to believe that that may have been where the original entrance was. We noted when we did the field measuring that the foundation wall, the bulkhead wall at the center doors changes in width to a smaller width when it goes back to that center configuration. So we believe that was an entrance that was likely added after the fact. Whereas the door on the right-hand side, the bulkhead is a consistent thickness all the way along and a wider thickness. So we believe that was originally the entrance at that location. If we move to drawing A3, this is the signage that's going on the building and all the signage details. It is keyed to the map on the upper left, but the details are shown for the height. The weave itself is 24 inches tall. The letters are the B, I believe, is the largest, which is 18 inches. The overall, if I wrap a box around the entire signage, it does conform with what is allowed. This is 29.5 square feet. Again, the letters will be non-illuminated. They will be The only lighting source will be from above. The banner is proposed to be 18 inches wide by 48 inches tall. And that has a projection of 22 inches off the wall. It's mounted up high. It's out of any eyesight for traffic or anything like that. I did see a comment in one of the reports that the fabric should be sunbrella, and I did check with our sign vendor, and they don't use sunbrella, the proprietary fabric, but they do use an outdoor fabric that is intended to be weather resistant. The explanation I was given is that when you use this umbrella fabric, the way you create these banners is you're essentially painting the graphic on it. Whereas in the case of the proprietary fabric this company uses, they put the graphics on with a heat source, which is more durable. It's an opaque fabric, it's weather resistant, it's fade resistant, and they provide a 7-year warranty on the images and the fabric. So I just wanted to make note of that because I did notice it in one of the reports. And that's it for the main signage. The only other signage we're proposing is in the bottom right-hand panel on the drawing. We would have the address that would appear in the transom above the entry doors. On the left door, we would have the logo, which is very small, and they're vinyl letters that are applied to the glass. And then on the other door, we would have the hours. And again, all of the signage conforms with zoning.
Thank you, Ms. Logo. Are you finished with your testimony?
Yes, I'm happy to answer questions.
Okay. Before we go to questions, why don't we consider Mr. Conley's report? There you are, Tom. Can you just go over what you have 5 comments here?
Sure. Well, first off, I think, this is an improvement to what we have there currently, but it's not that drastic of a change. But the couple of things that I did notice, and Ms. Longo did correct her drawing, was my first comment, the existing elevation was just drawn incorrectly, but that was a minor thing. Just wanted to let her know we are paying attention to what she does submit.
You can come with our drawings here in the office. That was a good catch.
Oh, you're welcome. My second comment had to do with the east elevation. Since that is visible from Bloomfield Avenue, I had a question as to whether or not any work was proposed for that elevation. And I believe I did have a conversation with Ms. Longo. She indicated that there was no work. Is that correct?
There is no work on that elevation.
So nothing will be happening on that elevation. That was just a question. My third comment had to do with frequently these storefronts do change in the evolution of the building, especially storefront elevation, storefront windows change their configuration frequently. So I was wondering during demolition, if it is discovered that what the original storefront layout was, where the original doors were, would it be possible to modify the proposed design to conform with whatever the historic storefront door location was, and if it was a recessed door or not?
The door on the right-hand side, based on what we see and the way the slabs are handled and sloped and whatnot, our ascertain, it seems to indicate that right-hand door would be the one that was originally built with this addition when it was put on.
It's possible, and sometimes these things would be hard to tell. And like I said, they change frequently through the lifespan of these buildings.
If this were an original facade that dated back to the 20s, I would fully expect that the center door would have been the one that would have been more, original. But the fact that the foundation wall changes and you can look at the way the slab was added later, all indications really seem to be that center door was the one that was added. But I would like to make one other point. The bank does have a preference to keep the door to the right-hand side. And the primary reason is it facilitates sort of functional purpose for them in the floor plan. If you look at our floor plan, Graham, on sheet A2, we have, they like to be able to see people entering the bank. And if we were to move it closer to the center, it makes it a little more challenging for them to be able to do that. So the bank does have a preference to keep the door to, as we currently have it shown.
Okay. And the only other two comments that I did have had to do with the signage. So if the signage, just wanted you to confirm that the signage meets with the Montclair sign ordinance and provide samples for review, and any mock-ups of new materials should be reviewed. And that was it.
Thank you, Tom. So why don't we start with questions from our commissioners? Ms. Levy, do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Mr. Reimnitz?
I have a couple questions about, let's see, I don't know which drawing is best to look at. Can we look at the rendered drawing on the outside? Yeah, that one, down below. The picture at the bottom right, yeah. How far back are those double doors? Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm just measuring. They're set back about, I'm going to say about 24 inches from the facade.
Okay, am I reading a piece of glass? It's what we can't see. So I guess, is that glass?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
As a side light, yes.
Okay.
On the 90-degree angle portion, yes.
Okay. And what is the underside of the soffit above made out of? Of the double door?
Right now, I'm trying to actually recall. Right now, it's two parts. There's the canopy that the awning sits in. So part of it is metal, and then it changes to another metal material. We're going to be stripping all of that out. And give me 1 second. I can tell you what we're doing. It will be stucco, and there's a downlight.
Downlight, okay.
Yes.
Okay. The stone running along the bottom of the building, is there, I'm assuming it's applied to the existing facade? Is that it?
Correct. Yes.
How is it detailed? Does it have like a little kerf detail at the top of the stone?
It would have a chamfer at the top, yes.
Okay. And how do the outside corners turn? Do they miter? Does the stone miter?
Yeah.
Oh, you're right? Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how much does the stone return on the east facade?
Really just the distance of the column,
Okay.
which is maybe about 12 or 18 inches deep.
Okay. Those are my questions.
Mr. Hyman?
I have no questions. No questions.
No? And Mr. Rooney?
No questions.
I have a question. Graham, can you go back to the existing condition facade? That the bulkhead, there appears to be a pipe that comes out, and can you magnify that? Yes. Oh. There's a see that there? There's a pipe that comes out, and then,
So, yeah, that'll be removed.
so that's not necessary for anything within the, and then that bar that's across on the bottom, behind the pipe, is, what is that something that's fallen off that? Yes.
I think that was an applied angle iron that
Right.
perhaps somebody put there to secure those tiles along that joint. I don't know. It'll be coming off.
So what the material that's covering the facade, that will go down to the, so it appears at the sidewalk and the wall that there's a gap there, right? How do you plan on treating that right there?
I'm sorry, show me again, Fran. Oh, well, that's just the joint between the slab and the building. As depending on what we find when they start to remove all these materials and deal with that center door, we have a detail called for in, if there is not a continuous foundation that runs at the plane of the bulkhead across those center doors, we suspect there is a continuous footing below there. Just by the way we can see that slab at the entrance doors has been laid in there. If there is a foundation wall there, they will be building on top of it. If not, we have called for them to excavate down. They'll be replacing the slabs. They'll be providing, the waterproofing against the slabs and whatnot. So until they really start digging that out, we're not certain, but we have called for both conditions.
Okay, and then, but how will you treat that little, it almost looks like there's 2 inches there between.
If I can assist, Ms. Longo, I think what the chair is asking is if there is a gap behind this metal panel that's laying here between the bulkhead and the sidewalk, will you be filling it in with additional concrete to connect with the sidewalk?
Well, this all goes away.
Yes,
Yeah.
there will not, right now, there is not a 2-inch gap. It is a typical joint between the concrete sidewalk and the wall. My suspicion is somebody put that angle iron there because the tiles were starting to delaminate and fall off. But yes, our plan is the new material that we're putting on that bulkhead will continue down to sit on foundation. And then if we do need to close that off with more than a typical joint filler, we would be recasting the sidewalk in the area. But right now, most of that joint is really just a typical joint filler.
Okay.
Along the building.
Are you planning to do anything with the sidewalk? The ones I guess to the left is newer than the one where the cursor is right now?
The plan is not unless required. The bank, as you know, is moving from the corner location. Budgets are tight these days. So unless it's necessary, it is not planned that those sidewalks will be changed. They're called to remain.
I just thought it might look nicer. And the tree will remain. That would be a town tree. Are you going to clean the brick around the right there, that little area between the sidewalk and the curb? Is that possible?
That area, I believe that's part of the public way.
Yeah.
So we weren't touching that at all.
Okay, and then I have one more question about the vestibule, and pardon me if you've addressed this. At the vestibule, I know that the ATM will be illuminated. Will there be lights in the ceiling? How will that be? How will that space in the? Well, you called it a vestibule.
It's actually an ATM lobby. It's a combined space. It's an ATM lobby and a vestibule. Yes, it will be illuminated because access is 24/7. So we do have ceiling lights in there. We are required to maintain, for security purposes, a certain light level in that space.
Right. Okay, and those will be flush with the ceiling?
The lights will be flush with the ceiling, yes. There'll be recessed lights in the ceiling.
Okay, all right, those are my questions. Thank you. Now we're ready for discussion. Caroline?
I think it's an improvement to what's there, and it's a neutral storefront infill, and the signage doesn't go on the building and is consistent with the signage that we've approved in the past along Bloomfield Avenue. So I can support it.
John?
I also agree. I think this is a big improvement. If I would make any one suggestion, which the underside of the soffit as you're going into through the front two doors, to make it out of a different material, to add more stucco there. You know, you're replacing everything else. I would tend to make that something more consistent with the metal and glass facade. Other than that, I think it all, look, the only other comment, and I don't think how much it reads really at the end of the day, you have the joints of the stone lining up with the facade of the aluminum and glass facade and the dividers there. That's a very hard thing to pull off to make it come out perfect. So I would just, you know, if you're going to do that, pay attention to that. You know, that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Rooney?
Yeah, I think it's a big improvement, and it's a handsome building, and I think it'll do well for Investors Bank.
And Mr. Heineman?
I don't have any other comments.
Comments? Okay. Yes, I do. I think it'll be an improvement. It's too bad we don't have a vintage photograph, but not all of these buildings, you can find them. But I think it will improve the site considerably. So for our C of A, Graham, the one thing I would like to add is that we ask that you come back with the masonry. Well, I guess you're going to be cleaning. You're not replacing the top of it, but the bulkhead material, perhaps.
We're happy to do that. In fact, I'm sitting in my office now. I have a sample here, but I have a question. And if the board does grant us the C of A tonight, as Graham is aware, we're under a very tight time frame to be able to move the bank and have them operational before the end of the year. And that's as a result of regulatory requirements. And I am just wondering if it's possible for us to perhaps put the material on a board and have it available at the site for inspection, if that would be acceptable.
Yes, we go on site. You just have to coordinate that with Graham.
Okay, thank you.
That's not a problem. And I mean, if I think everybody is in agreement. I don't hear any objections to anything that this should be considered as approved. So we would move forward with this tonight and approve it with just the conditions that we be able to look at the masonry component. Does everyone agree with that?
And I would change the soffit at the front door to a different
Okay,
material.
that's all right. That can go.
If I could just ask for a little more, would you like it to be a flush metal panel? Is that what you're looking for there?
I think it could be wood. It could be wood slats as far as I'm concerned. It's just, I know what these underside of these ceilings and stucco look like, and they're always awful. So almost any material, any kind of surface that's not stucco, I suppose, would be acceptable to me.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, do you have that, Graham, an alternative to stucco?
Yes, I do.
Okay, great.
I move to approve with those two conditions.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Okay, great.
Advise commission
Thank you
members.
all very much.
Yes,
Thank you.
Ms. Longo. I just want to advise the commission members, we've been working closely with Ms. Longo, and as she mentioned, the bank is under a tight timeline, so we are going to probably advance their permits through subcode review in the construction department before we finalize and codify our C of A.
Sure.
Although we may do it next week, given how simple it is. I could probably do that next week. But just so everybody's aware, we're going to try and move them along so they at least get started with their permit review process. So.
Okay.
We really appreciate everybody's assistance with that also.
Yes, we're looking forward to having the bank move in there.
Okay.
All right,
Thank
thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Good luck.
Thank you. Good night.
Okay. Well, we're up to adjournment already. So our next meeting, don't forget, will be next week, September 3rd. 109 Union Street, the demolition will be on that. I don't know where it will appear on the agenda. Is that first on the agenda, Graham?
Now for everyone. That is first on the agenda now.
Okay, I haven't seen this yet.
Kathleen, I think we have that resolution from.
We have a resolution.
Oh, sorry. Right.
We do have a resolution still to do this evening.
Yes, we do. Okay, sorry, let me find it. Okay, so the resolution, that's the minutes, Graham.
Yeah, I'm pulling, I paused the screen. I'm just pulling up the resolutions.
If we have if everybody has has read the resolution, does anyone have any comments on it?
Just
There
want
you
to
go.
address that, the same comment from the minutes, correcting that typo on the first condition, the 1/1.
And the one thing that I would like to comment on is scope of work proposed by the applicant under entry doors. It doesn't say, it says that the applicant proposes to replace the entry doors and the entry door on the south and eastern facades. So, but in actuality, it's a new entry door on the eastern facade. So it should be the entry door to be replaced on the southern, which is Bloomfield Avenue, and they're creating a new door on North Fullerton, because that cuts into the historic fabric of the building. So that should be noted. So do we have any other comments or changes?
No.
Oh, wait, no?
John, you're on mute. Go ahead, John.
That still doesn't read correctly. The first sentence makes no sense under entry doors. On the southern portion of 475? No,
Should be and 483 Bloomfield and replace the entry door at 475 Bloomfield Avenue.
it's replacing both entry doors at both addresses, basically.
Right.
Right.
So Graham, you're going to take out southern facade.
Yeah.
Okay. Applicant proposed to replace entry door and replace entry door.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Perfect.
A
Okay.
new entry door on the eastern facade of 475 Bloomfield Avenue. Should that be more specific? Because I know, John, we had a discussion as to where it should be. I know there were some concerns that it was cutting into the, it could be placed further north on North Fullerton.
No, I think we ended up where it is, and we have a condition about the surround of this new opening
Right.
And I think that's where we ended up, and I think that's fine.
Okay. Yes, because at number 8, on number 8, the conditions does address that. Proposed new entry door is to return. Proposed new entry door. It's like he's dressed up for Halloween.
I would say the proposed new entry door and new
Surround, right.
is to return to, yeah.
Right, because the new surround would be there's the metal surround and also that canopy that they're proposing. So that encompasses everything.
Right. Just go back up paragraph 1 there and 1 over cone. No. Back paragraph 8. It's 1 over 1, not 1 over cone.
Right.
Thank you.
There you go.
Okay, so everyone has had a chance to read this? Yes?
Yes.
And, okay, so we have to have a motion to approve. Should we vote on this first, Jason? Just do a roll call vote?
Yeah, we could just make a motion to approve as amended.
Yeah. I make a motion to approve as amended.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. So that's the last thing on the agenda.
That's what.
Fabulous. It's not even 9 o'clock yet. You don't want to hang around for a while?
The rest of the night.
I'm gonna go get beer or something. Okay.
All right, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you, everyone.
See you next week.
Yes, is everyone going to be available for next week, September
Yes.
3rd?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, see you then. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, see you then. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.